Now, let me go a little more in depths of how this happened. You see, the belief in the oneness of Allah is man's innate belief. Let's look at Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, they talked straight to God with nothing in between. Now, Adam and Eve was tricked into disobeying God. Now, when this happened, this opened the door to corruption and destruction. Now, if something like this happened to Adam and Eve, what do you think happened to the people after them? The people after them, these people, they were tricked and they were misled as well. They were misled into believing something that was not true. Now, this is the work of Satan. Let me share something with you. Do you know every single prophet prayed straight to God with nothing in between? They prayed straight to God. Every single prophet came with the same exact message. And that message was to worship the one and only true God. And not only to worship the one and only true God, but to worship Him and to worship Him alone. Surah 2, Ayat 213 tells us how mankind was one community and how Allah sent the prophets as bearers of good tidings and as warners. The prophets, they came to warn us about the oneness of Allah. Surah 10:19 tells us, it's similar to this one, pretty much the same thing, that mankind was one single ummah. But then they differed. That's why the prophets were sent. This is also why the Quran was sent. The Quran tells us the truth about God. The Quran shows us how to find true happiness and how to cope with problems and deal with everyday living. Understanding the oneness of God is very important. I remember when I first understood the oneness of God. I walked outside and I realized there was green grass growing all around. Green grass growing all around. Now, I know that this purple dinosaur called Barney sings this song, the green grass grows all around. But we're not talking about purple dinosaurs here. We're talking about what Allah has provided for us. You see, I enjoyed walking outside. I enjoyed the sun that was shining, the birds that was singing, the wind that blowed. I enjoyed these things. These are things that make me feel good. Or to walk outside and look at the stars in the sky, and the night is just so quiet and you hear the crickets and you have a nice little breeze. Yeah, you want to go sit on the lake and all these things. But this was different than any of those times because it's like my eyes were uncovered. I seen the world in a different way. Yes, I still enjoyed the sun that was shining, the birds that sung. I looked at the flowers, I seen how beautiful the colors were. Butterflies, how the raindrops went down my window pane and I'm just looking at the raindrops running down. I mean, have you ever did that? Have you ever looked at the rain on your window of your car and just watch how the water runs down and connects and splits and all these things? Wow. So I mean, I begin to pay attention to every single thing. I say, wow, we have vegetables that grow in the ground. We can eat these vegetables. Trees that bear fruits, and we can eat these trees. Water. Water can kill us, but we can consume it. Now, fruits, vegetables, water, all these things give our body the nourishment that it needs to grow healthy and strong. Now, and we use water to wash with, bathe with, and clean things like that. So I begin to look at all these things and I realized that I never appreciated it before. But when I understood who God really is, and I understood the oneness of God, I began to appreciate these things. And what happened was my five senses kicked in 100% times five. That's what happened when I realized the oneness of God. My eyes were opened because before they were closed or something was covering them, but my eyes were opened to a whole new world, to a whole new way of understanding. It's as if I was washed and I'm clean. So, if it ever happened to you, you'll understand what I mean. Now, I started thinking about everything. How amazing the human body is. How we have extra skin where we can bend our hands and our fingers and everything. Because if we didn't have this extra skin here, it would be quite hard to bend our fingers and it would hurt. But our elbows, our knees, everything. I started thinking of our digestive system, how it works. How unique is that? Our brains. Our brains hold so much information. It's not like a computer because computer crashes. Our brains don't crash unless we do something to crash it. But I thought about all these things. I thought about how we reproduce, how our muscles and tissues and veins and everything wraps around our bones, how our skin stays on our body. My eyeballs, they're not falling out, and my tongue is in place. SubhanAllah. Then I started thinking about the cycles of life and death, the mountains, the oceans, the rivers, the seas, the planets. We're surrounded by other planets. And these planets are just sitting up there, just like us. We're just sitting up there. Nothing's holding us up. Then I thought about gravity. Gravity. Wow. I mean, shouldn't we be falling on top of each other? Then I started thinking about the seasons: winter, summer, spring, fall. I knew about all these things, but I never for once appreciated them. Now, I never appreciated the gift of life, the things that God had provided for me. I never appreciated it.